For this edition of Film and Shows Adaptation, I ended up reading these two books. They are a great start for the book franchise, and I cannot wait to cover the movies all about these two books. And I am alive, talking about movies once again. Tonight we talk about Quantum of Solace, and we talk about Skyfall. Two great James Bond movies that came in the Daniel Craig era. Well, great. Quantum of Solace is more of an average product that was quite enjoyable at best. Anyway, I am Multi-Topic Talk. This is Film and Shows Adaptation, and I cannot wait to read some of the comments online about these two movies. And maybe we will have someone that will join me later on, hopefully, finger crossed. Anyway, let's get into the wiki page, because this is how we do it here. So I will screen share the first wiki page for Quantum of Solace, a movie that was impacted by the writer's strike. It's known by many. Oh, we got the Dobberman. The Dobberman is coming. I thought he had forgotten about me. Hi, Dobberman. How are you?
You would think I would forget.
Yeah. How are you, my friend?
I'm good.
So, before we really dive deep into both movies, I will ask you this, because this is your first appearance on the James Bond stream. What was your least favorite James Bond movie?
Least favorite. Oh, the one with Brosnan and Halle Berry.
Oh, Die Another Day?
Yeah,
Why?
Die Another Day. Oh,
No, I'm joking. We all know why. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like, and every time you wanted to like it, it just did something so stupid. And do you know what? James Bond movies, over the top, ridiculous in lots of different ways, especially the ones in the 80s, were just, they're crazy, stupid stuff is already happening. But Die Another Day was over the top dumb. Like, over the top, like, okay, this is, oh, no.
I loved that movie. It was a bad movie, but I loved it. It's like the guilty pleasure territory there. It's like, I want the Jinx spin-off.
Okay. Hey.
We did it.
I've heard a lot of bad opinions from you, so this one doesn't even surprise me.
But again, I know it's a bad movie, and I think it's the worst James Bond movie, but I still liked it.
You can only die twice?
Oh, I loved it. You hated that?
No. I wanted to hear your opinion on that immediately, because that one was really good. That one actually was pretty good. It was the when the studios were fighting over the rights for James Bond at the time. That one was really funny.
I enjoyed it, but I will be honest, it's very far in my memory, so I will just bring my letterboxd to have a better idea. But based on what I see, but that one is in the lower end for me. It's just above.
Moonraker.
Well, actually, it's higher. It's actually right in the middle. It's right underneath Octopussy and Goldeneye, so that'd be in 12th place.
What? You didn't like Octopussy?
I liked 11th place. It's
okay.
It didn't make the.
I guess that's okay.
It didn't make the cut, but I have very hot takes in my top 10. I loved The World Is Not Enough. I loved it. And Moonraker, I know everyone hated it, but that was a fun thing. On the moon, James Bond on the moon, I need more of that. Thunderball was fun, and again, my two favorites are from Daniel Craig, Casino Royale and Skyfall. I adore these two.
Casino Royale is such a good movie. It hits all the good spots. I really like that. Goldeneye, and actually I like Skyfall a lot. I just rewatched it. It It was really good. It was definitely better than Quantum of Solace, but we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, and to finish off on that worst and that experience with the James Bond franchise, Casino Royale is actually almost a one-to-one adaptation of the book, but because they turned it into a movie, they added so much more, and it's fascinating. I'd
Oh,
say the movie is better than the book.
oh yeah, because also it's modernized because
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that happens in the movie that just couldn't happen back in 1967 or 66. When did the book come out? Was it 66?
53.
53. Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's even
no doubt.
older.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
it, it,
that's.
it, it came out like 10 years before Doctor No. And
Did you know? Did you know Christopher Lee actually knew him?
wow, I didn't know that.
And you know who Christopher Lee is? Like the coolest dude who's ever lived ever.
To be honest, I don't know.
He
I know
played.
the name, but the face I don't.
He played Saruman in Lord of the
Oh, I
Rings.
see.
He
Oh,
was all. He also worked for MI6 during the
wow,
war. During the war, and he actually met Tolkien,
wow.
and he
But yeah,
was he. Okay, keep going. Go.
but to finish Casino Royale, I will be blunt and honest. I think the romance in the movie was far better than in the book. And again, I love the book. I think it's a great foundation, but it didn't age so well. There are aspects of of the book that could have been improved, and I really feel like the movie did improve these aspects. So that's fascinating. So now that I ask you the worst, I will ask you, what is your favorite James Bond movie? Just before we really truly dive deep into the two movies of tonight.
Oh, I wouldn't be able to give you a 100% favorite, but um, uh, GoldenEye for sure. Uh, Casino Royale for sure. Skyfall, really, really, really good, and Living Daylights because
Oh, I love that one.
it was so crazy silly, and it was the first Bond movie I got to see in the theaters with my dad. So I have a nostalgia trigger on that one. It was Timothy Dalton. He wasn't the best Bond, but he did exactly what he needed to do, and he got the job done, and it was great. He was a Bond for that movie for sure.
I think Timothy Dalton was amazing. I think his movies are really like in the lower half, but I think as a actor and as a Bond, I think he was probably my second favorite Bond. Um,
Don't tell
my
me
favorite,
Daniel Craig is. Don't tell me
yeah,
Daniel Craig. Oh God.
and I don't like his last two movies, but I did like the first three. And that hurts me so much because I'm like I cannot stand Spectre or No Time to Die, and that breaks my
No, yeah,
heart.
I agree with you. One
I
hundred
That
percent.
breaks my heart.
They're on my
Like
low. They're on the low end. I think they're in my in the last five movies, Bond movies.
same,
They're in my last five. Yeah.
same. But I loved so much Skyfall and Casino Royale um and Kingdom of Solace that we will get into very soon is somewhere.
Oh,
I'd say in the
and
lower half,
oh,
but
really? Okay.
yeah, it's like well, I have the list right now. It's in one, two, three, four, five, six. So it's in 20th place.
Okay.
21st place. 21st place. Sorry. Yeah,
Now,
21st place.
now you know that every Bond movie they have a very good looking woman that's always in it, or maybe even two that fill up like some of the role, or even as Bond's foil during the movie. Quantum of Solace has two of my all time crushes, and one is the most stereotypical Russian looking woman you've ever seen in your entire life, and they made her into Chile. They made her Chilean. It's like, okay, the most Russian girl you've ever seen. Somebody that you would see as like girl next door Russian girl, and that you would either see at McDonald's or something like that. She's like a Chilean secret agent. It's like, oh, this is so silly, but I still love you. Still love you.
I gotta say before we jump right into Quantum of Solace, I'm a solitaire guy from Live and Let Die, or I really love Ellie Berry. Like, man, in the 2000s, she was something.
Oh
Um,
yeah, oh yeah,
she was
swordfish.
something.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Oh,
swordfish.
we got a dragon showing up. The dragon is there, and it's the perfect timing. And we will let um the Dobberman start on
He
Quantum of
can.
Solace. What did you think of Quantum of Solace?
Oh, I love the opening. This it's exactly how every Bond movie should open, with a crazy action scene. You have no idea how they got there. It's just go right in. We're going now. It's okay. It's hitting the gas immediately at the beginning of a race, and it's like whoa whoa oh my god, oh, car gets destroyed, machine guns, blah 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 blah, people getting into car accidents all over the place. How did the guy survive in the trunk of that car? I will never know, because it's not like the trunk was armored. There should have been like hundreds of bullets that went into the trunk of that car. But anyways, uh, setting up the finally the what's it called, the secret clan, or the secret society. They don't know anything about them. They find out, oh my god, there's a bunch of people working at MI6 that are actually working for them, and people get killed, and another chase, and they chase, and then okay, we got to go to Haiti for some reason. Why Haiti of all places? But anyways, another chase, action, action, action. Not a lot of really making sense of anything, but then we get Olga Kuryalenko. Oh
It's
my
James
god!
Bond. You don't need to make
Oh,
sense.
oh, and then my Russian princess that I would like murder an entire African village just to sniff her asshole. Oh my god, she's so beautiful and tanned like crazy. And okay, and then we get back into, okay, we got to chase, and it's chase, and then we get my other favorite girl, Gemma Arterton. Oh my god, what an amazing beauty she is too. And thank goodness, oh, we needed another beautiful woman in this movie. Oh, okay, I got distracted. Beautiful woman, yeah. Anyways, so then they find out that they're actually working. The secret society is actually working with the United States CIA and with MI6. So they have to be able to subvert, like going around all the people that are. What was that about? No, okay. There you go.
It's
Dragon's
about
got to.
something with the
Yeah.
dragon that I muted.
Yes, good. Thank you. And then they find out that everyone else is also, like, they're so embedded in all the secret societies and all the intelligence agencies that there's no way around them. So let's go in. Let's get together, and we'll take them down while they're trying to take over. While they're droughting. I can't remember what country it is, and then go to that place that has fuel cells for power, just so we can have explosions everywhere for a final set piece like action scene. And it ended exactly the way you would think, with Bond kissing the pretty girl, and then him being alone. Oh, wait. No, the very end is when he finds the girl. He finds the woman. Sorry, the dude that killed what's her name, Eva Green's character from Casino Royale.
Vesper.
Yeah, Vespa. Yeah, like, oh yeah, Vespa, the name of the moped, or the scooter. Yeah, and then he shows, and then at the end, Bond shows that he doesn't have emotions anymore. He's been hurt too much, and he's just gonna go in hard and dry every time from now on. It was good. It was really good. I liked it a lot, especially the first like half hour. The first the first set, or the first act, is so full of action, and it barely gives you time to breathe, but you know exactly what's happening. There's at no point you will be confused. They walk you through it very well. It's very well written, and they edited it. It's very good. Other than the shaky, like the like four cuts per second during the opening scene, everything else is very well done, very well shot. It's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you for sharing. So I guess now I will go second. So I again, Quantum of Solace may be in the lower half for me, but but I still enjoyed it, and it's a fun movie. Um, it's entertaining, and I still have a few issues. That's why it's in the lower half. That's unfortunate because again, I love Daniel Craig. So before we get into the issues I had, I will start with how I view the plot. Following the events of Casino Royale, British agent James Bond takes on a quest for vengeance, and he drops bodies left and right. And that's the premise of Gundam of Solace, and I think the premise is quite good. Is the execution great? I don't think so. So let's get into my issues with it. Plot convenience, boss appearing to help James Bond in the chase. I hate when Bond movies do that. It's like bruh, bruh, bruh. No, no, I hate it. Uh, the Bond girls, unfortunately, they are pretty, but they are forgettable. It's no Solitaire. It's no Vesper. It's no Ellie Berry. It's so unfortunate.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, keep going, keep going. I'll tell you after you get.
I think they are pretty. Again, they're really good at choosing models, but I just can't remember most of these Bond girls. I only remember the blacks or Vesper. Um, Well, what else? Well, my next issue with Quantum of Solace is telling over showing the backstory of the Bond girl with the accident with the gun. Wasn't a fan of that. The bad aiming and everything blows up, yet no sense of urgency because touchy feelings. And that was by the end of the movie. I was quite bothered by it. Well, outside of that, that movie again, I enjoyed it because it's Daniel Craig and it's action fueled, and I didn't feel like it was a movie that was made in the writer's strike. A lot of people have that complaint. Oh, that's a movie from the writer's strike, and it was this that. Um, I just thought it was another James Bond movie. And I thought that was very interesting how agencies are willing to deal with anyone with oil. It's a very nice messaging, and I feel like it could have been part of the books because the books had a lot of political ideas in it, um, which is great when you try to adapt a universe like that. Bond feeling betrayed by Vesper um, was quite good, and it was really told in that movie because it felt like a follow up. And interesting how America doesn't care about politics as long as they get their oil. James Bond being about vengeance was quite cool, and um, the humor I thought was great. The action overall was great. I think Quantum of Solace is a fun trip. It's another James Bond movie, and I love these James Bond movies. So again, I will reiterate that that one is in the lower half for me, but I love the experience, and I don't have a lot more to say. So I will unmute the dragon. Hopefully, he's back. Are you back with us, dragon? Is the dragon here with us?
Oh well, before he starts talking, I need to talk to you about. You had put Halle Berry and Olga Kuryalenko in the. You would say Halle Berry is better than Olga
Yeah,
Kuryalenko. Are
I
you
want the
serious?
Jinx movie.
You cannot. You cannot.
I
be
want the
serious.
Jinx movie.
Like my mind is blown by the fact that you would even put them in the same category. Olga
I want
is
the
like
Jinx
Olga's.
movie.
Olga is one of the very rare like 9.5s. Halle Berry's an 8, and you're gonna put Olga, who's like a supermodel, haughty. You know damn well what she would do to you if she got you naked. Come on, Halle Berry. I don't know. But Olga, you know what she's gonna do, and it would be good. You would tell your friends about it 30 years later.
Anyway,
Um,
Dragon, what did you think of Quantum of Solace, the movie that was
Actually, I did.
directed by him?
Well, do you mean that Sorry, yes, no, my phone is doing a slow charge bit. it's it's wonderful, but no, I mean Quantum of Solace. It's hit or miss for me because Craig Bond start off very like there's a part of it like some of these are better than others because you're going to talk about Skyfall later on, and I'm really hit or miss on that one. But Quantum of Solace was not as bad as I thought because, like, okay, you're dealing with Spectre. Now, it's a different take on Spectre because Ian Fleming, who did the original books, and then James Gardner was more of the spiritual follow up to the novels, wrote Spectre all through his entire tenure, if that made sense. It was both of them dealt with it differently because it wasn't like, oh, wham bam, thank you, ma'am, you're dealing with Spectre. This version of Spectre was a very different than the original Spectre because Craig's Bonds, you have to realize, are less about global shaking events versus one event that is important. Now, that's my nitpick with a lot of Spectre. Spectre is meant to be an organization that can alter the balance of the world. Go back to Thunderbolt, Doctor No, You Only Live Twice. Their whole goal was to cause either chaos or affect the world globally. Craig's version is, look, arguably threats since basically Bronson's Bond have been scaled down. I mean, but again, Raymond Benson's been the current person. Probably started that trend. But it goes back to Quantum of Solace. Quantum of Solace, it is piggybacking on Casino Royale, which it's fine. Like, I agree. Like, the action is not bad. The payoff, it's there. And I agree.
Matt's dying was sad. Each time I'm like, oh, that's Bond only friend.
Does. The thing about Craig's Bonds, when I say they're hit or miss, it's the characters. Like, you follow more of they follow more of it. Like, you're following him hunting down Mr. White, then you're following him to get revenge on Spectre. Now, I mean, yes. Is it a very stylistic and popish film for sets? Yes. Now, do I think it covers up some of the issues in the plots that are the dumb parts? Yes. But this was also one of the better. Like, I like this film better than I liked Casino Royale. Because I thought Casino Royale definitely was not the greatest. But jumping a bar back then wasn't as big. Because I say that, Craig's Bonds. Quantum of Solace does have more pop flair. It has the right stars. It doesn't have the best plot, but it is entertaining. Now, I will have to push back. You say that the Bond girl isn't memorable, but I will also have to push back against Michael because not all Bond women are very memorable.
No, they aren't. No, but Olga Kurylenko sure is. She sure is.
She was.
Jinx.
So come on. We're talking about him. He's never seen Christmas, has he?
Yeah, I have. Oh yeah.
No, he's never seen Christmas.
What? He hasn't seen. He hasn't seen the what's it called, Denise Richards Bond girl. You haven't seen that one?
I've seen every Bond movies.
Okay, it's it's the one where she's the
Tomorrow Never was it? She was in Tomorrow.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Denise
that's
Richards,
funny because we bring this, and Tomorrow Never Dies is actually a spot lower than Quantum of Solace in my ranking.
Yeah, and that's heresy.
No, I agree with him on that one because it was one of the worst Bond movies. It's
I
probably in my
loved it as
bottom.
well.
It's in my
I
bottom five.
the
Okay, well, we're
the only
talking.
three Bond movie I don't like is like No Time to Die, Spectre, and like the George Lazenby one. These are the only Bond movies I don't like. But again, No Time to Die, I loved it, even if it's terrible and it's the worst Bond movies. I loved it.
Okay, that's an argument for another day
Yeah,
because
no doubt. Yeah,
there's a couple of Bonds. You have to understand when the Bonds were done, and the George hating on the George Lazenby. He
I cannot stand that Bond.
that
I'm
that
glad they
that
didn't
there's
bring
a
the
whole
actor back.
story to that one if you never know that one.
the whole the what's it called, production companies were
Not just a
suing.
production
Were
company,
Yeah,
just its place in the grand mythos. So, but no, Quantum of Solace is basically it follows the trend of the more grounded versions of Bond because I don't say it's necessarily as bad. It does set up a groundwork like it because you're trying to humanize Bond because it's not like okay, let's say they got the inspiration. Now, for deep lore, if you're ever curious about Bond actually being in love and actually having children prior, so when you only live twice, during that fake marriage, he actually has a child with that Japanese woman. They never carry this over unless you go with the Gardner novels, and I think he goes on to be a CEO. Bond finds out years later that he has a son. But they took this idea that you needed to humanize Bond with him being in love with the first girl he meets. And then, I mean, we get down the line where they fuck that up entirely because Craig proves he's a giant male feminist. But
yes, he is.
and then but Bond, Michael, did you know about that plot from the prior You Only Live Twice where they say he had a kid?
No, I do not. I did not.
See, I guarantee many people don't. He doesn't, and it was carried over. But this is knowledge if people follow because he wants revenge because he actually loved her. Now, it does have good action. As I said, part of the plot, as I said, is idiotic because I do not like this version of Spectre. But then again, our grandiose vision of Spectre comes from the novel.
Yeah, Doctor No.
It comes from the entire original novel series, in which goes through they would cause global problems. Not just Doctor No. They're all through. Even when they did the original films, they clustered Spectre together, which was never in the novels.
It's funny how
Seriously.
you frame it. They cluster it.
Because you don't know. Do you know that, by the way? The novels, he
I've
basically
only read
spreads.
two of the novels right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
and
Novels, I
I
had
plan
them
on
in
reading all
hardback.
of them. I plan on reading all of them,
I
but
have them
I
in
have other
hardback, the
readings.
originals. Most of them. The idea is that's why I say Quantum of Solace, I don't mind it, but it's a budget departure. But you could also tell Craig wanted out of the role as well by this point. He sells
I thought
it.
it was more telling in Spectre and No Time to Die. I wouldn't say the same about Quantum of Solace. It's still early. I think he was still enjoying it.
Well, it's background. He didn't like. Well, look, the argument is it wasn't in production as much, but it covers it for what it is. Now, do I say some of the plot is more convenience? Yes. Because again, it's really, really weird. Now, reality is, do I still rank it up there amongst Craig's Bonds? Yes. If that makes sense.
I mean, the bar is so low with No Time to Die Inspector.
Ugh.
Anyway, I guess now we are sharing our grade or closing thoughts on Quantum of Solace. So, what would be your grade out of 10, Dobberman?
Oh, 8.25.
Oh,
Good movie. Good movie.
interesting.
Great popcorn movie. Something that if you see it in the theaters on a big screen and you just get to sit down, you will remember that night for a while. You'll be like, damn, that was like, I'm glad I went out. I'm glad I spent the $50 for you and I to go see this movie today. It was good choice. Really good choice.
Amazing. I will go a bit lower than you with a 7 out of 10. Um, I'm not the biggest fan. Again, I enjoyed it, but I think there are better movies out there. And now I will ask the dragon, what would be your grade out of 10 for Quantum of Solace?
Um, I give it like an 8. It's definitely not. It wasn't the worst. As I said, Craig's Bonds I wasn't the hugest fan of. But it is a better one of them.
So we will have the Rotten Tomato segment to react to people and how people actually hated that movie because I see the score and it's quite low. So let's screen share it
I'm
right
sorry.
now.
I'm really, really sorry. I have to go.
Oh my!
A truck of soil just showed up at my place. I have to go unload it.
Oh
So
my!
I'll see you guys later. Thank you very
Yeah,
much for having me on. Okay.
thank you for joining. Have a good one. So there we go. Um, 63% from the critic and 58% from the audience. Very interesting scores. And the critic consensus brutal and breathless Quantum of Solace delivers tender emotion along with frenetic action, but coming on the heels of Casino Royale, it's still a bit of a disappointment. And I could not agree more. I think it's spot on. It's a week in between two great movies, but it remains better than whatever we had after Skyfall. Anyway, do you want to add anything else on the critic consensus of Dragon?
What did they say the meta score was?
63 from the critic and 58 from the audience.
So people will argue and say that I've heard this argument, and this is an argument. I guess this is why I come in this usually not from the cinephile perspective. Like, okay, if a movie is liked by basically critics, it's usually hated by audiences. Now, that being said, if it is a lower critics, a higher one, the same goes. If it's a higher, usually viewer than a over, you're talking something that's different. Now, a 58 isn't as bad, but this is also coming on. I think the film has aged better of them, but it also might be nice copium. Now, when I say it's an 8 out of 10, but what do we get with modern Bond? E.g., we have a Bond game coming out. Did you not know that?
I
First
did
Light.
know it. I'm
First Light.
excited. I want
I
to
have
play
no
it.
hope for that game to be good.
I have
know
hopes.
I
Don't ruin
look.
my dreams.
It's fine. It's going to be a movie game, but I don't think it's worth $60 or $70. But that's here nor there. And we got Amazon about to reboot Bond. Now we're talking after the later Craig Bonds, where. But when I say this, critics did not mind it. It didn't have a production problem. It didn't have issues, but it had a perception problem with the audience because Craig's Bond had a hard time resonating with the audience. If that
I
makes
think one of the factors is how different that Bond is because it's a saga. And let's be honest, No Time to Die was just a cash cow. It was a pointless sequel, but like all the way up to Spectre. I think they tried to do a story, and it was a very interesting story, and that was very different from other Bond, where we had adventures here and there, but nothing to connect them. Now we do have things to connect them, so I think that's one of the reasons why people didn't connect as much with the Craig era. Maybe it was
they
also because they tried to make it so grounded, and people tend to forget. The books, they felt grounded as well, the ones I read at least.
well the that's a big deal with Bonds. Like you can look through the entire history of them, and some were different or better than others. And it's one of those, as I could say it, like I still have my favorites. Like to me, like if you rank, and that's why I say with that, like it didn't hit with audiences. Like it's probably, if I you have to go back and check it now, I think Quantum of Solace aged better than the rest of the Craig Bonds, because
Really? That's surprising.
surprisingly, uh Skyfall is supposed to be very important, but the reason why I like the film but I hate it at the same time, and it's because Craig Spawn's like, that's why it didn't hit with audiences, because most people went into Bond films thinking that they are what they it is more of a saga versus a you're they went with a more linear story, because technically Bond is not supposed to fall in love. Usually the ground rules for anyone that's for a Bond is Bond is not so, well, he's human but he's not human, but he is also a throwaway.
Is a weapon.
But well, this goes back.
That's what the book
This
tried
is
to say.
actually a lot of stuff. Is, and I'm sorry I've never joined you for a lot of these. He basically is considered more of a what you could. He is what you consider more of an actual. So when they rebooted it with Pierce Bronson, you got to see the other numbers, and it's not forgettable, but most people forget through a couple of the novels, through either Roger Moore's era, you hear about a couple of the other double O's. The double O's were officially, I guess, when one is killed off or retires, one replaces it. Another person replaces, because they're like, there's never been a female James Bond. There's been female double O's before. They've shown them. People just choose to forget. They were shown, and especially the Pierce Bronson era.
Money
But
Penny was cool in the
no, did
Daniel
you
Craig
not
era.
know? Did you know there's most people know there's double O's, like most
Yeah.
people, but there were female double O's, but they're actually meant to be a throwaway. They're not meant to have really lives. That's like
They're
it's like
just
as
weapons.
yes, that's the really big one. Their life expectancy is hit or miss. So it's one of those things. This is why Craig's Bonds do not always hit so well. If that makes
So
sense.
yeah, so let's start with some of the critic comments. Chris Tuckman with a C minus. Quantum of Solace is one of the most listless Bond film I have seen. Very interesting comment. Do I agree? No, I don't think so. Like they're worst, far worse. The next one, Namatra Joshi with a 2 out of 4, another rotten score. The angsty Shrint Bond and his sulky ways get too irritating the spout notwithstanding. Well, I feel like for a critique, she missed the point. That bond was shattered by the loss of Vesper, and it was just angry at everyone, and it was just out for revenge. So maybe that person didn't really get the movie, or she just wanted to hate Craig. I don't
I've
know.
never heard good stuff about a lot of these that you see. Chris Stuckman's a weird one because Chris Stuckman, he he has aged interestingly. That was from 2020. Like when you hear a lot of people that okay, so film critics, this is where I think Austin or Cole would know a little bit more than I do. I have heard like I've seen a lot of people. The Joshi, I've heard her. Most people have heard of Chris Stuckman because he's been the main movie reviewer. Like he is his tastes are weird. Sometimes these critics like stuff, but some people do hate it. Some people like it.
So coming next, we got Dre Rivers from film.com with a B plus. Go see Quantum of Solace. Not that you weren't going to anyway. Very interesting comment. I wished he expanded more on his B plus. Coming next, we got Emiliano Bazil with a 6 out of 10. Another fresh score. So we got 2 rotten and 2 fresh. As always, Bond shines like a British senorito amongst luxury saloon, good drinks, and pretty women. This I agree, they are pretty. All thought in this new installment, the character allows himself to get dirty, his hair to get tousled, and even perspires. Interesting comment. Um,
But she still
I
gives it a 6 out of 10. But
yeah.
you gotta be like, if you're gonna give it a 6, like a lot of these which you're not gonna see, because I think a lot of critics, this is where we started to see a fall in the critics, or like the so critics are, I want to say the fall of the critics. This goes along the lines of, pardon the phrase, cinephiles. There were at this time, let's say about 4 or 5 years ago around YouTube, more of the, I call it the cinephile sector, the people who reviewed movies. Like, even by today's standards, Red Letter Media is, they're losing relevance. Like, Chris Stuckman put out a film this year or last year, and it got interestingly reviewed, and it causes a bunch. Some of these names you'll see amongst them, sure. Some people will. They'll give it a flowery thing. Like a 6 out of 10 is not a good for a Bond. Like, does that make sense? The
It
sector
does.
was a lot because it wasn't like it's paid shills like the gaming industry.
Yeah.
It's very different as it's a bias. Like, Cole would say he liked those some of the MCU films. I don't expect comic films to be one for one, but Bond films have a certain formula, and it's something you should judge. That's why I say a 6 out of 10, a B plus. This is even amongst critics, it was hit or miss. But
And
then again,
again, it was 50-50. So I guess now we will read some of the audience comments on Quantum of Solace. The first one is in a language I don't know. He gave a 3 stars out of 5. So that'd be a 6 out of 10. The next comment is Tony O. Oh, boring and repetitive. I guess that's his opinion. With 1 star out of 5. That'd be a 20. Out of 100, which is quite low. Coming next, we got A. 3 stars and a half, so that'd be a 7, just like me. So there's a good Patrick H. William video explaining Bond. In it, he says here people wanted to go back to a passionate, serious Bond. From Ben W. Do you agree with that statement?
Do you mean the first one, or are you talking about the other?
Ben
I
W.
I look. There was a hopium and copium with the new Bonds. I came into a lot. It's look, you're talking to a person who, like, I grew up on Bond films. I have the special edition VHSs back in the day. I have the ones that form the picture. I have the ones that have the books. I have the original hardback books. There is a thing about Bond is depending on the Bond of the era, it's like Star Trek. You're either going to like it, you're going to hate it. Sometimes it takes time for an actor to grow on you, or you need it. It's like, take example, I hold a controversial opinion. Pierce Bronson is one of the best Bonds because he fit the novels, old and new.
I I can see that happening a lot. Like Pierce Brosnan is actually my second favorite. My favorite remains Daniel Craig, but Pierce Brosnan is a close second
He
for
was
me.
better than Craig because even though he aged, you compare him to the old, like Timothy Dalton's run as Bond.
It'd be my third favorite.
Actually, while I think he was stuck with some more of the worst films of the Gardner saga,
He was a great Bond,
he
even
was
if
a
his
Bond that
movies were
was
not so
good.
great.
He kind of reflected the 80s star, but he also was not the most ideal.
He
Now,
was dealt a very bad end, unfortunately.
but his level of novels come from the Gardner era, which is very different. Now, let's take into account Roger Moore or Sean Connery. Sean Connery had his part. You could say he was maybe a foundational, but he fit a mold of a Bond. Bond was always supposed to come out of the Navy, traditionally, which is strange. There's actual lore to where Bond comes from. But Roger Moore had slightly better films than I think Sean Connery's were. But then again,
Agreed.
Sean Connery had only the basics to work with. Not that Dr. No from Russia with Love, those were very different tones, though they were sold well. This is like when I say with actors, you got to realize Craig was stepping into a role. He fit a role to a degree, but I think it's a combination of the actor, the plots, and the storytelling, how they executed it. It
And
wasn't.
Ollie felt very different from anyone that came before. In looks, in approach to storytelling. The final comment we will get to about Quantum of Solace, a 2 out of 5 stars. That'd be a 4 out of 10. It's not a problem to pick up where Casnorel left off. It is a problem to just repeat and reiterate the character arc, I guess, from
Well, you can
Alec B.
expand it, see more, because I'd be curious.
I'm trying to expand. There we go.
It shows a lack of confidence that it seems to be confirmed by frantic editing and the half-baked plot. Don't don't promise the Matthew.
The bad guy, Emelric.
Yeah, he basically you're talking. It's more of the hurt fandom because you got to look at it as if you are a fan of something, you come to expect a level. Well, there's the argument I ask: do you expect a role of a heritage like you're doing Star Trek? Like, we used to actually think the role of a Star Trek, like when TNG was first done after the end of the original OG era by Gene Roddenberry. This is the Star Trek films done in the 80s. First Contact and all of, not First Contact, but the motion picture, The Voyage Home, them. You can arguably say Gene Roddenberry was looking to refresh the universe. So he came up with Star Trek The Next Generation that had Sir Patrick Stewart, it had Michael Franks, and it had them. The first year was okay. Now, you could say this is a fan. This was the first, like, of the years of TNG. Now, arguably, the actors went very libtard and very pre-DEI CRT, the guy who's even reading Rainbow, but the roles were not good. The first season was very hit or miss because a lot of the critics were like, this tried to be like the old ones. But TNG got better. Now, you look at the others and its section spawned both Voyager and DS9. But these actors would cross over. They would be beloved. But they also worked on their characters in the universe. I can say this, not say the same in the current Bonds because there was a pedigree. They still had the old actors in the old. They revered it, but they also did new. Because, yeah, remember, TNG was about the hopeful. Because what made TNG successful was the fact it went back to the futurism and explorative nature that he wanted with the original series. Now, we can have the comments. I know you'll never review Deep Space Nine or Voyager.
I don't have the time.
No, but
so
I
you're
say,
right
like,
on that.
but this is like, you have a pedigree to work with. Craig's thing in the pedigree of Bond has been hit or miss too, because half of his era, he's one of the most hated Bonds by fans because he's kind of
The send off and the ending is just not great.
He is not. It's like, what if I said Idris Elba was considered to be a Bond at one point?
Imagine the outrage.
No, Idris Elba, not because he's black. He would have fit the role perfectly.
But now he's got
like about 10 years ago. Around then, he was an action star. He fit the role. But it would have been... It's also that Craig is not a custodian. He looked at the role as a paycheck.
Well, I think he started seeing that with like maybe Skyfall and Spectre. I don't think that was the case with the first two. Anyway, there's one last thing I wanted to share, and it's interesting how the budget was between 200 million and 230 million, and the box office was 589.6 million. So it did twice the budget. So it was it was a success. Nowhere near as good as Skyfall, which is the segue. But
well, they say they have to.
Dragon, let me finish. People were like, it's hit and miss. Some people liked it, others didn't, and that's the case of Quantum of Solace. And now let's get into Skyfall.
They said it has to hit. So here's the thing about budgets. I've heard this through a couple of times. Like, let's say Avatar. Okay, so the second Avatar film took a long time. It had, you talking marketing budget, you're talking, yes, does it make back its budget? Let's say Godzilla -1, example, was done on very small. But it made 4 times or 5 times its thing. Same with Five Nights at Freddy's. But the thing when you look at a film like Avatar or even that, sometimes you have to make 2 to 3 times the budget. But this was a different era that double the budget made more sense than something that was hidden in a can for nearly 5 or 6 years. It was successful, but you got to bear in mind with Skyfall too. We're about to get into Skyfall. The big thing about it, it was the 50th anniversary of Bond. It was on the anniversary film for Bond. It was like the 50th or 60th, I believe.
If we speak about movies, that was year 50.
So yeah, it was 50. Yes. So Skyfall being the 50th anniversary of Bond, it also needed to hit a certain note. It had they brought Adele in for the theme, by the way, which
Yeah.
they tried to make it as British as possible and reflect an era. Now, I don't hate this one as much. It's a really hit or miss. I think it's a human plot. It's the last time you get to see Dame Judi Dench.
You get to see her in Spectre, but she's more of a cameo giving the mission.
Well, the idea is it's more of a mini revenge plot. An ex-person wants to kill him. And it's a personal story, but it also reflects a story where it's a love letter to the old Bonds. It's a love letter to the side Bonds. And it shows Bond caring for, even though they show this Bond, Craig's Bond does. Every M always has a contentious relationship to Bond, which is actually kind of funny from the old. And it's because you still had Judi Dench as the same M for a while. It's a slower one. Like, take it like Tomorrow Never Dies, or where they show the MI headquarters being there. It's a slower film, but it's a revenge plot that makes sense and works. It is supposed to be on the anniversary. That it respects it, but it hits a couple of core notes. It's not a lot of gadgets. It's mostly that. And I mean, love it or hate it, I like it better of the Craig Bonds. Now, do I think it sometimes it's aged interestingly? Sure.
That movie is 14 years old now.
Oh yeah, you're talking of Bonds, of Craig's Bonds. It's not that it's just old. You're just talking it was supposed to be on the 50th anniversary of Bond. Like, you got to remember, through Pierce Brosnan's run before they brought in the new Q, it was the same Q actor through all the Bonds, almost. It was him. He was always Q. The interesting thing is, Judi Dench being the same M for the last two eras is very iconic. So it's a send-off to her. And I think it's because he did look at her as a mother figure. This Bond did.
So yeah, which is also funny because she's called M.
Well,
you can't be more on the nose.
Actually, did you know? Okay, so the MI5 thing, calling M, it's supposed to be minister. That's actually from the lore itself. But they call it MI6, right? It's actually MI5. Yeah. But the concept of it is you never ever, like, this is one part I think about Craig's Bonds. They explore the subtle of the MI basically in 00 programs, because you see it a little bit in Pierce Brosnan's Bonds, a little bit, because that's why You Hate Tomorrow Never Dies. That's actually one of my favorites.
I don't hate it. I just don't think it's
It's
great.
a you got to bear in mind some of the plots that deal with it is the growth of that, because a lot of it is Skyfall is arguably it's a memorable theme that goes back to the old Bonds, but it also harkens back to a novel style that bridges with film. And it sticks out to me as one of the better. Now, I give this actually better than I still think it's an 8 out of 10. But reality is they did better. Look, you can overlook the plot holes to a degree. And then they wanted to kill M, which it makes sense. It's a send off to the actress leaving the role. This was arguably probably going to be Craig's last Bond as well.
Until they gave him more money.
I don't look. There's a whole thing.
Throw money at him. He will come back.
Actually, no. I'm trying to. If you think back, the thing about Craig as Bond, you could tell he took Casino Royale as a test role. It's kind of like Chris Evans. Chris Evans was not going to take the role as Captain America because he had done basically Fantastic Four. He was the Human Torch. The reception after he was the Human Torch, right? With Galactus as a cloud and the Silver Surfer, he didn't like it. Craig took over the mantle of Bond. Bond actors are actually not required, but they are usually demanded for 3 to 4 films. It's kind of like there used to be a rule in Star Trek. For a Star Trek show, you were locked in for 5 years to 7 years. Believe it or not. Don't know if you knew that, Multi.
I didn't.
That's actually, after a few, they got people they could lock in for 5-6 years. Now, it's kind of like even Scott Bakula was locked in a little bit longer, but like your short would have been at least 5 years. Season's pretty auto at the time. Auto. It just turns out, like with Bond, they wanted him for... But at the same time, you can compare him to Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. They had to almost force him to come back and do, what was it, Iron Man 4? Like,
wow,
even
really?
by 3, he wanted the fuck out. Like 3?
They kept him around for 5 years.
They wanted to be done with him. Like, after his whole role and he was going to be the intermix, Craig has the same problem. Craig was like, I want to go do other things. He got roles from there, but he also wasn't invested in Bond. Because there was a lot of like little stuff in there. It wasn't regret that he was Bond, but the films take up time. The films also, he didn't like the role. And it comes more evident as the time goes on that he started to hate Bond.
Spectre! No Time to Die!
Oh God, by Spectre, you could tell the man wanted out.
The guy was just end my story already. Even the movie ends that way. It's like, bruh.
Because you gotta look at like Skyfall, as I said, he realized he had a role to play. It sounds weird. It is the anniversary of the franchise. You needed to do it. And he did it well. It's arguably one of the better. Now, the rest of the ones we can forget about. Like, my God, I don't think I ever said this one. I never came on for No Time to Die and the other Best for Plot, where she did have a child by him. Like, fuck, no. Mm-mm. That
Let's
that
look
that
at
shit
it.
was fucking awful. Okay, let me get this off my chest. The later part of Bond's fucking era with Craig, trash. A nanovirus would kill the child. What? Because remember, as I said earlier, Bond,
Movies.
okay, in You Only Live Twice. The idea is they were going to put him into a village. This is from the novel. It's in the film. They don't really touch on it. He actually married the Japanese woman. For real. That's the only way they would agree. They let him infiltrate the village. He married that woman. They stayed together for a bit. And then they had a child. That was in the original. Now, it's not as much in the film universe, so to speak. It's more in the novels that you see the exploration of it. It humanized Bond. Bond eventually finds out that he has a son. His son went on to be a CEO. And he does almost take revenge for his son.
Wow.
It's one of
Interesting.
those weird, because they kill him, basically. Forget how he dies, but he gets killed. And because someone finds out he has a son. It's one of those ones of you could have handled the plot so much better because Spectre and then No Time to Die, like arguably the casting, and I think that's why when they've been kicking around, there's going to be a female James Bond. No one has an issue with a female double O. Craig was actually one of the people advocating for being the female
Replaced.
double O. And the interesting part is I said that Idris Elba was considered if he was 10, 15 years younger and wasn't old by the time he was Bond, he could have been Bond during the era. No one would have cared that James Bond would have been black either. Idris Elba has the characteristics of being Bond. Bond is stoic, but you're also talking at the same time. After this, you see the death of the stoic, manly Bond. It's awful. That's why I say I still give Skyfall an 8 out of 10. But it is such a. It's the last good Bond film in my eyes.
I agree. So I guess I will get into my thoughts on that one. Skyfall is hands down one of my favorite movie among all. It is my second favorite James Bond in the entire franchise. Casino Royale just defeated Skyfall. Anyway, let's get into the plot. On my point of view, I should say, MI6 agent James Bond gets severe injuries during a mission that turned ugly. James Bond retires after feeling betrayed. When the MI6 HQ collapses, James Bond decides to return as a broken weapon. The wash up secret agent 007, despite failure on tests, and head of MI6 ends up sending Bond against a former Secret Service agent that's now been turned against the crown. And that's a very interesting premise. I like it. Send a broken weapon to fight another broken weapon. Um, Overall, the movie, I enjoyed it. Again, it's my second favorite James Bond movie, and it's one of my favorite movie among all. I felt so much things. So now let's get into what I did
Let me
enjoy.
say this too before I forget. That plot is not new because
Yeah,
GoldenEye, the God, I can't think of that actor's name because that actor guy is it Sean Bean? The guy Game
yeah,
of Thrones?
006,
Yeah,
the
he was
traitor, yeah.
006
Yeah,
because that yeah, that is one of the ones because this style of a plot isn't new. because there were other double O's. That's why I
Yeah,
said this is still a good. It is a classic canned story, and there's also another story when he gets injured because I think by one of the other bonds,
that was
he
Never Say
actually
Never.
gets captured in Pierce Brown. Like
Oh yeah,
basically,
that was Die Another Day.
and then there's the other. It's like they say, well, if you're injured and not back to work, even Ib says to him at one point, yeah, you screwed the instructor to clear you. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that was Die Another Day. Anyway, I enjoyed a lot Skyfall, and here are a few themes and ideas behind Skyfall that I quite enjoy. James Bond being a sacrifice for the greater good was interesting, and that was really early in the movie. He got shot to protect the list, and it kind of failed, but still they tried. M lying to Bond so he can be back on the field shows, well, to any means necessary. They were willing to do anything to get the outcome they wanted. James Bond falling rewind. James Bond failing the test. I don't know what's up with me tonight. Maybe I'm a bit tired. I won't lie. Showed how of a broken weapon he's become. James Bond aging out of his duties was a nice theme shown in the scene with Q. Uh, it's very interesting. The action overall was very good. The characters in Skyfall are great. Uh, Q again is so fun. I enjoy Q a lot in that franchise, and we got Money Penny now, and she is a field agent for a few scenes until she becomes a secretary again, like the way she was written to be. Um, M is great. Great villain with Da Silva. Da Silva is one of the best Bond villain out there. Complex, interesting. I'd say more memorable than 006, even if they had very similar mission, very similar parallels with James Bond. Um, I think overall they nailed every aspect they could nail on Skyfall. The action, and that movie made lots of money. Um, they were rich, and that's why they did Spectre after that. But Skyfall with the Adele team is something to remember. We always remember that intro. That's one of the best intro out there. Um, what else? Well, spoiler. I know we can already spoil the aspect of it, but spoiler: M dies, which gave a very shocking moment, and that was very emotional because you could see throughout the movie how James Bond and M cared for each other, and how James Bond, as you said, was seeing M as a mother figure. Uh, James Bond being shattered in having very limited gadgets as usual. That was very fun. Um, and Da Silva being so many steps ahead of MI6 was very fun. The entire action sequence by the house was great, something to remember. Da Silva escaping MI6 was great. And Da Silva seeing James Bond and telling him, yeah, you failed everything. Like, you're a broken weapon. He was basically taunting James Bond. And they were playing that game. Let's shoot a glass, but because that's the bad guy, instead of shooting the glass, he shoots the girl. Amazing scene, very dark, very good. It felt like a Bond villain that's not cartoonish, and that's what we need. Um, Skyfall had so much to offer, and again, this is a movie that was made with not so much money. It was one of the cheaper, more modern Bond movies, and it did so much. I don't have a lot more to say outside of one of my favorite movies out there. Skyfall is, for me, a masterpiece and a 10 out of 10. I adore that movie. It's amazing. It's my second favorite James Bond movie. And I said it. I said it. Anyway, I guess now is the Rotten Tomato segment. Um, let's read out what other people had to say about Skyfall. Skyfall, where are you at? Where are you at? You are there. And I will maximize it. So, we got a 92 from the critic and an 86 from the audience. Critic consensus: Sam Mendes brings Bond surging back with a smart, good-looking, riveting action thriller that qualifies as one of the best 007 film to date. I agree with that critique consensus. Would you agree with that statement, a dragon? I guess
I
dragon
do.
is away.
Yo, yes, I do agree with that.
Amazing. So I guess we will read some of the comments. The first one being from Wendy ID. The Times in the UK. A fresh score. These pictures, directed by Sam Mendes, contains some crucial elements that are all too frequently lacking in the average action movie. And I agree with that statement. I think that movie had a soul in art other action movies don't have. And this is what we need. This is what we need. So, congrats. The next up, Sarah Mitchell Feathers with a 3.5 out of 4. Skyfall celebrates the 50th anniversary of the franchise while also confidently launching it into a potentially intriguing future. Any thoughts on that comment, the dragon? Intriguing future.
This goes back to actually what I was saying about Skyfall. Skyfall, when I said about mine, is it was the 50th anniversary because we know about after every 3 or 4 films. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, why does Sony still do Spider-Man? Why does people do a film every 7 years? Like, you got to make a film to create, like, you need to keep your license. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But compared to Craig's Bonds are also criticized for what they are. They are hit or miss. What's surprising to me now is you see the score for the movie from both. It's very high. That's why I said Skyfall is one of the better of the Bonds. It is a self-contained story. And I think a lot of the critics saw this. Because the fact alone, it has an 80 of Bonds. I would just be very curious of all of what Craig's Bonds were. Just to see how, because as I said, it's not that bad of an act. In him, to reiterate, it is that. Because a lot of the critics saw it, most of the audience saw it. So,
I guess now we will move on to the next comment from the critique again. Oh, a first rotten score. Britain is quite diverse right now. Feel free to reflect that anytime, Mr. Bond. So from Monica Castillo, and I guess she hates patriarchy and such, and that's why she didn't like it.
Here's the thing. James Bond is a British icon. Like, okay, Dune, it's like Dune and Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is basically, he wrote that as a love letter to British mythology. James Bond is held into the UK basically like basically Lord of the Rings is. It represents the UK. And that's why every time, like when you go to see like in the older Bonds, because Ian Fleming, who came up with the concept, was former before going to MI5 was OSI. He was intelligence. So you're talking a guy, he was writing from a British perspective. It is a British thing. And you're like, well, it's not diverse enough. It's like it's an action film where people get killed in a plot. Like you see the next one, right? The guy goes, it's a film of nonsense, incredibly flawed. Now, do I say it's a 5 out of 5? No, I still give it that high. But it's a good send off to a lot of characters. Because you get what I'm saying. It is a
Yes, I
it
do. I
plays
think
a
that was a
role.
great movie for Judy Dench to go off. The result has been a no nonsense driven, incredibly flawed, and actually unable James Bond compared to the invisible caricature of a decadence he had become a generation prior. So from Don Shannon with a 5 out of 5. So it's taking shots at previous depiction of James Bond. Interesting. Um, I I like the part about it being no nonsense and driven by a flawed James Bond. I do like that. But taking shots at Pierce Brosnan, don't do that to my boy. Anyway, that person liked it. No wonder why. So I guess now we will move to the audience with Scene and McGivern. 10 out of 10, awesome movie ever. James Bond. James H. James H. 10 out of time. 10 out of 10. Countdown to
That was
No
a
Time to
later
Die
review, though.
continues. Yeah, with a rewatch of Skyfall on the big screen. Interesting.
I would never compare those two, though.
Me neither. Best Bond movies, 100% excited to see No Time to Die.
Oh, God.
Wow.
I feel bad for a lot of these people
I agree.
because here's one of the biggest problems. You went from Skyfall to what we got.
Yeah, Spectre and No Time to Die. Two movies I'd rather
You got
forget.
Spectre, which, oh God,
It could
a
have
lot.
ended James Bond's story in a decent and enjoyable way. It was one of the worst James Bond movies, but the ending itself was fine. But then they needed to do No Time to Die.
It's like, God, you're like, I remember the lead up, and it's not to say that FNT crowd, and I don't entirely agree with how Asin they review stuff, but by the time we got to No Time to Die, we're like, why the fuck are you still doing this? Before Spectre, like we had been going on gaps, and I'm like,
And that's almost the 60-year anniversary of James Bond. Almost.
you're like, why do you do this? Like, and then you're like looking at the dumbest plot in the world for it. I look at like a lot of this as, and I look at these reviews, they basically will. It's insane, by the way. It's like I say this because I look at a lot of these because a lot of people went and saw or were reviewing this in recent years after the release. And they realized they're like, we need to watch this or we watch the movies in order. I'm like, okay. But no. That's why I said you can't automatically give this 5 like stars for the longest time. Like they go, look, definitely enjoyable. The plot is a little overused, but it makes good use. And I would say it's a near perfect one. But it's like the best one of Craig's Bonds.
I think it's one of the best James Bonds overall.
Don't compare it to the other one. You're just asking.
I will 100%. Now, before we kind of close off on that, the budget of Skyfall was quite interesting with the 150 to 200 million, so less than Quantum of Solace, but it did 1.109 billion, so it did a massive amount of money for the studio. And unfortunately, that led us to freaking Spectre, which we will cover next week again. Spectre, massive disappointment. And now, because this is film and
Well,
shows
you notice, like,
adaptation,
okay, Godzilla minus one, right? Godzilla minus one had an incredibly low budget, like for what it was, and it basically they kept it, and it wound up making a lot.
yeah,
And it's one of those ones that no one has said that you just needed a story. For it to be the freak version of James Bond, that film in the modern era that made $1 billion, yeah, compared to the others, I don't think that's why they greenlit it.
I
I think
think
the rest got greenlit because they they felt they had to do something, but you cannot fix a rotten story. You really can't, because the saga idea, they would have been better off recasting Bond at some, like, okay, lead up to James Gunn's Superman, right? Prime example. We heard they were trying to figure out, okay, you're not going to use Cavill. You're kind of do Superman. The casting for Bond, it's not like they have been looking at the right actor, the right script to reboot Bond with. Amazon's supposed to have something. Now, here's where I'm hoping, as I hope, Amazon doesn't try to Amazonify it or Netflix it, because if you try to everyone's going to go into the next Bond film, it's going to be Rings of Power. This is why I said, I brought up earlier, First Light. First Light, I think, is going to be like the Indiana Jones game. It's not going to be, and if it goes in with the floor, I'm just not going to play it at launch because I don't have faith in a modern. Well, I also know how a lot of James Bond games are. They're very linear. But this is going to set the stage for what Bond we're going to get. Now, a lot of people are being cast to be Bond. There's a lot of people in cast discussion, if that makes sense, Multi.
yes, it does.
Yeah, we're like talking that they didn't have to go with Spectre in No Time to Die. The twist that the daughter lived and whatever else she didn't die. Now look, I tried to forget the other last of the James Bonds because
I feel you.
they're horrible. I am, and there is a point of I know a lot of people who did it. It's not out of nostalgia that I look at the other eras. You have to look at the films and the plots. That's why I said Spectre failed. So did No Time to Die. I mean,
It felt miserably. Anyway, I guess I will say that last thing because we are in film and shows adaptation. I think Skyfall is a better adaptation to Quantum of Solace because really James Bond is depicted as a broken weapon, and sometimes it's the case in the books as well, especially after his meeting um, with Le Chiffre at the end of Casino Royale. It was a broken weapon. Anyway, with that being said, we are now moving on to the outro. What do you have going on in your end of the internet, the dragon?
so I'm trying to fix my streaming schedule, but if I can ever remember to fix my sleep schedule. But I will have probably a game stream in about 30 minutes to an hour. Um, But I'm trying to stream 3 days a week and do things, but anyways, I do have commentary topics this week, or I'm going to have at least two. So it's a little bit hectic with stuff I have going on, but definitely game streams. I'm trying to do 2 days a week, 3 days a week. So far this month, I have failed.
It happens. It happens.
It does. It is a. I can't figure out if YouTube fucked over my algorithm or I did it myself, and it's a combination. So it's there's definite. And I do have to have it do or die this week. I'm going to have the thing of the Southern Property Law Center thing. But politics is also, there is going to be one this week. And then we also have the React stream, it was Saturday night. So
yeah.
I have also, but as I said, to be determined game stream today, because I've been doing a lot of Diablo 4 grinding on the side. That's why I haven't been streaming it. And then I was doing something else. So we'll see.
Amazing. Well, what do I have is tomorrow Splinter Cell stream, Saturday reaction stream with you, the Dragon, and hopefully you will have the video ready for Saturday. And Mortal Kombat, if you are available, will be Monday evening, 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Mortal Kombat. Tuesday, Superman A Quest for Peace and Superman Return to Abomination of a Movie. Wednesday, we talk about Spectre and No Time to Die. And Thursday, because The Punisher will be out, we are having our final Daredevil Born Again Season 2 discussion, you and I.
I really don't think after the finale, I don't think, unless the Punisher follows up the show on the finale, because after seeing the finale,
it's next week, next Thursday, basically.
I said after seeing the finale, unless the Punisher film plays a part, I don't think it's going to be involved in Daredevil's story.
I think it could be interesting to mix up both, nonetheless.
Well, okay, you know why I say that, because I don't think it's going to play a part, because we know Daredevil's been slated for season 3 already. Yeah. For sure. And the finale, I want to see how the finale.
I haven't seen it yet, so
I'm not going to spoil it unless the Punisher film.
Thursday.
Oh, and you got The Boys too. The Boys.
The Boys is at the end of the month, but
Thursday, the Last Boys episode was good.
So Thursday, if you're available, Thursday.
Yes,
next
Mortal
week.
Kombat I'm definitely seeing. And
Mortal Kombat is Monday, and Thursday we will have Daredevil Born Again and Punisher. So that's the 2 stream. Monday, Mortal Kombat, and Thursday, Daredevil and Punisher. With that, tomorrow, Saturday, Saturday, it will be late night, and with this, we are out. Have a great one, everyone. Thank you, the Dragon, and that was another great stream.